You're right. No one died for my sins. Jesus Christ is just a myth. And God, he's just a made-up story to make people feel better about dying. The universe was clearly built by an extreme set of events lined up perfectly to allow the planet to exist in a way that was just perfect to create and sustain life. Evolution clearly explains how a cosmic explosion unrivaled by anything since the beginning of time could create life out of, well, nothing. And obviously life had to start out small because even though there was no intelligence yet, life knew that if it was going to work, it had to start out at the microscopic level, and it formed itself into a cell, like you do when you're feeling bored and don't yet exist. This microscopic cell came fit with a mouth, digestive system, DNA, a motor, and the ability to reproduce, which is important because when you're built from nothing for no purpose and by an extremely rare set of events known more commonly as the beginning, it's always important to reproduce. Hey, you've got nothing else to do. And this life that was created from nothing had the willpower to keep on pushing forward through all of life's difficulties until eventually the entire world was full of not just animals, but also plants. Evolution clearly explains how everything in nature perfectly coexists in a way that everything is fed and populations don't grow out of hand. And this life that was created by evolution, that was created by a planet made perfectly for sustaining life, made by a gigantic cosmic explosion that was made out of nothing, eventually produced monkeys that were not satisfied with how dumb they were, so they decided to grow bigger brains and accidentally created a soul that is conscious of its existence and somehow thinks it was created for a purpose. What an idiot monkey. One day these primitive monkey humans came up with a brilliant idea. Let's invent something called God, even though there's no evidence that God could exist because clearly a giant cosmic explosion coupled with a nifty life-creating source known as evolution made everything we know today. But hey, we could use God as a way to make people feel bad for things we don't like them to do, and we will call this bad stuff sin, and then maybe later on we can invent a savior to save us from that sin that leads to eternal damnation. Yeah, good idea. So one day, around 30 AD, this human named Jesus started telling people that he was said savior that would forgive sins, and that by simply believing in him and following his ways, you would never die. He gets these 12 bonehead guys to help him spread his terrible religious propaganda of take care of widows and orphans and feed the hungry and heal the sick and proclaim freedom to the captives and heal the brokenhearted. What a terrible message. These religious leaders at the time got so sick of his horrible message and decided to have him crucified, like you do when someone makes you mad. His disciples were heartbroken, until 3 days later one of his disciples decided to make up a story about how Jesus came back to life. And then he convinced over 500 people that they had actually seen Jesus walking around and had actually heard Jesus talking to them. And then the other disciple said, hey, what the heck? Let's just run with it, even though all of our families will disown us and we will most likely be murdered. Every one of these disciples were really good at lying though, and they were able to keep lying about Jesus being the Messiah even after being tortured, stoned, beaten, hung on a cross upside down, boiled alive, thrown off a cliff and murdered. Not one disciple changed their story at the end, even though they knew it was just a big conspiracy based on a lie that they had made up. They decided money, power, safety, and comfort were not worth going back on their lie. They knew it would be fun to start a new religion that would change the entire world and make Jesus the most famous person on the planet. After putting it all together, it's so obvious that all those Christian fanatics are just unintelligent monkey people that are easily influenced and desire nothing more than to spread terrible religious propaganda that leave people full of hope and joy and purpose and will lead ultimately to the salvation of their souls and eternity in heaven. It's like, duh.